and yet another beef series recently resurrected, I decided to once again unearth a slew of players throughout the league that despised each other as teammates. While some rivalries didn't exactly surface until years later, others were seemingly evident from the get-go. And with that, here are 8 more teammates in the NHL that despised each other. After reportedly clashing with teammates in Manitoba, Kane, after moving to the Eastern Conference, problems in the locker room seemingly followed during his stay in Buffalo. Following a losing stint for the Sabres of 5 games while they were simultaneously sitting at the bottom of the conference, things in January of 2018 quickly became physical during a team practice. After reportedly tussling with Zach Bogosian, Kane became tangled up with another blue liner in Justin Falk. The incident was the result of Kane telling Falk to watch his stick, then immediately after, the defenseman lost it on his former teammate, who, while shoving Kane, called him selfish and told him to shut up. While this could just be almost typical, as both players involved made it seem, Falk, when asked if he and Kane reconciled after, simply replied with, "I have an appointment at the library to read to a couple of kids here in half an hour or so I have to get going," he says. Regardless, in a little more than a month later, Kane quickly found himself being shipped to San Jose. Therefore, it's easy to speculate that things between Falk and Kane weren't exactly cordial. Coming up the ranks through the OHL, Paul Biznasty Bissonnette and Daniel Carcillo, prior to being drafted, faced each other on opposing sides. But after being drafted by the Pittsburgh Penguins in 2003, the former opponents began suiting up for the same team, or teams I should say. From there, Bissonnette and Carcillo were on similar paths as they simultaneously were sent down to the Wheeling Nailers of the ECHL and the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins of the AHL. And it was during the Penguins training camp at Mellon Arena that tension between the two began to surface, as the teammates decided to drop the gloves in training camp. While this could just be chalked up to trying to ensure a spot in the lineup, what would come out later on social media would shed a whole new light on this seemingly harmless tussle. Following their stint with the Coyotes years later, the former teammates went at it again, but this time with their words instead of their fists, as Carcillo was the first to target Biznasty after he decided to tweet an article that was released titled "The Power of Paul Bissonnette: How a Former Tough Guy Became the Most Influential Person in Hockey," which focused on Bissonnette's unique rise from a fourth-line enforcer to a well-known personality among the hockey world. And the 2-time Stanley Cup champ didn't take too kindly to Paul being in the spotlight, as he used his platform to reference an incident that cost fellow Blackhawk alum Jeremy Roenick his job. Biz immediately fired back, accusing Carcillo during their days in Wilkes-Barre Scranton of making discriminatory racist comments towards him, amongst other things. Carcillo then spewed his own accusations, saying his former teammate would also make insensitive jokes in the locker room, simply to get a rise out of people. Regardless of who is right in this he said war of words, one thing's for certain: whatever animosity was brewing while these two shared a dressing room finally reached the surface.
The next one is a little more difficult, and you've probably heard snippets of it. We're trying to sign Horton. We're having difficulty, and we've got a list that we may go to market on if we can't get him done. If we sign Horton or a comparable player for that salary, we have to move a player. And the player that I've been shopping is Seguin.
One lesson here: if you want to stay on your teammate's good side, you probably want to refrain from making moves on his better half. Anyways, before Seguin got to really know, reportedly, Horton's wife, the two, similarly to Bissonnette and Carcillo, joined the same team at the same time, as Horton was dealt from Florida to the Bruins along with Greg Campbell, in exchange for Dennis Wideman. And another asset that Boston was adding to their lineup was the second overall selection in Tyler Seguin. After recording a triple-point season with the Plymouth Whalers, the Bee was eager to pencil in number 91 onto the roster. But with drafting Seguin at the time, the team, along with his remarkable offensive abilities, also inherited an 18-year-old that loved to party. A lifestyle, perhaps, that former Playboy bunny, Tammy Horton, knew a little about. Regardless, despite nothing substantial coming to the forefront on the alleged affair, what happened not long after the Bruins captured the Cup in 2011 spoke volumes, as both players not only arrived at the same time in Beantown, but also left in relatively the same time frame. Seguin and Horton would play their final season with Boston following the lockout, but how these sequence of events unfolded later garnered even more suspicion, as Seguin was dealt to Dallas on Independence Day of 2013, exactly one day before free agency commenced. But even if this was a last-ditch effort to keep the forward, it didn't work, as Horton ended up signing with the Blue Jackets and leaving the East Coast for good. Definitely a unique rivalry here, as the former teammates who once played in the Bay Area together have been using the media as an outlet to keep their feud ablaze, as Roenick, during his days with NBC, was continuously using the platform as a way to express his distaste for the man once dubbed Mr. Shark. But before his media career began, Roenick, in his memoir titled JR, My Life as the Most Outspoken, Fearless, and Hard-Hitting Man in Hockey, recalls a rather tumultuous relationship with San Jose Star. The dislike for the mild-mannered forward seemingly came from Roenick's criticism towards Marleau's playing style, as Marleau, who is known for his gentlemanly demeanor on ice, isn't normally the first guy you'd expect to drop the gloves. And this was seemingly the motive for Roenick ripping his former teammate on live TV, following the Sharks losing Game 5 to the Detroit Red Wings in 2011, as Roenick went on to single out the forward, saying, "A gutless performance by Patrick Marleau. 0 points in the series," he says. Not long after his memoir hit the shelves in 2012, there was no doubt that Roenick despised his former captain, while throwing shade, featuring him on a list called 5 players I hated during my career. Upon being questioned himself concerning Roenick's antics on screen, Marleau replied with, "He's got his own agenda. He's saying stuff so people watch. I understand that. I don't have to like it or agree with it, but he's trying to get viewers like you're trying to get people to read the paper," he says. Even still, despite Marleau's classy exterior, you have to at least entertain the idea that while they were sharing the same locker room, that things weren't exactly sunshine and rainbows between them.
Is Patrick Marleau hurt on that play trying to get the puck from that?
Yeah, he's hurt. He's hurt. He's hurt. All right. Right here, he's hurt.